Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the BOCC land use meeting. Today's date is Thursday, June 11th, and the time is 9:05 a.m. We will call this meeting to order. First up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Brandon, would you lead us? To the flag and to the republic which stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will take attendance, beginning with County Attorney Brendan Hirsch,
Paula McPheeters.
Zach Swearingen,
Miles Lucero.
Carmen Howard, Planning Director.
and thank you to everybody else in attendance. Are there any modifications to today's agenda? If it's red, it's on. Okay, no. I will ask for a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. That'll bring us into land use meeting minutes from May 14th. I will ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. That will bring us up to public comment. I didn't have anybody on the sheet out front. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to speak for public comment? No, seeing none. We did receive a public comment. And again, per our policy, we do not read those submitted public comments, but we do file them and read them. I mean, we don't read them out here in the meeting, but we do read them, so. Thank you. That'll bring us into our consent agenda. Mr. Hirsch.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have 7 items on the consent agenda today. Consent items are items for which staff is recommending approval and or action. And as of the publication of the agenda, there's no known opposition. However, if any member of the board or the audience would like an item removed from consent in order to facilitate a full public hearing, that item will be removed and placed at the end of the regular agenda. With that said, our first item is a map amendment case number MA 26-1. Dennis Viejos. Viejos Revocable Trust is the applicant. Here, the applicant requests a rezoning of lot 88 Forest Hill from the A2 Medium Agriculture Zone District to the A3 Small Agriculture Zone District, and lot 95 Forest Hill from the A2 Medium Agriculture Zone District to the SR1 Suburban Residential Low Zone District in order to apply conforming zone districts to existing platted lots. Before the board takes any action, I would like to ask, is there any member of the board or the audience that would like this removed from consent and placed on the regular agenda?
Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no, Commissioners, this is before you for action.
Thank you. You guys got anything?
Mr. Hirsch, were you going to present the entirety of the consent agenda prior to a vote?
However you prefer. We can do each one. I can do them all, whatever you prefer.
Normally, we just go through them all in the consent agenda, and then regular agenda, we individually go through each one.
The next item is text amendment case number TA 26-1. The Pueblo County Planning and Development Code is the applicant. Here, the department is proposing a text amendment to amend regulations in Title 17 of the UDC, specifically chapters 17.02 zone districts, 17.03 use regulations, 17.04 development standards, 17.05 signs, 17.06 administration and procedures, and 17.12 measurements and definitions. Again, is there anyone from the board or the audience that would like this removed and placed on the regular agenda?
Mr. Hirsch, I do have some questions about this that I would like to ask staff. Does that mean we have to remove it from the consent agenda, or can we ask those questions and then move along, keeping it on
I
consent?
think you could ask the questions and move
Okay,
on.
so I would just like to know the impetus for a couple of these changes, and if you could talk us through kind of the substance of them, specifically some of the sign requirements. Where did those come from and what's changing, just for public awareness?
Absolutely. Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Peoria, Pueblo County Planning and Development. That's a great question, Commissioner. A lot of that impetus kind of came from staff and realizing that there were a lot of sign regulations that weren't being treated consistently. You know, we had tables for every zone district that didn't look the same. And a big part of it came from talking to some of our local contractors as well. We worked pretty extensively with Charlie Montera. He's a local sign contractor here in town. He's also the chair of our building board of review. And he was able to sit down and kind of talk us through a lot of the best practices and common practices in terms of what sign contractors actually do so that we could develop a sign code that, they're actually able to follow. One of the big changes there is the setback regulations for detached signs. So that's pole signs, monument signs, et cetera. The code as it was, or as it's currently written, requires that those detached signs follow the same setbacks as any other accessory building in the zone district. And for the front, that's where the street frontage is, that's where people want signs. That was usually like a 20 or 25-foot setback, which is pretty excessive for a sign. The code offered a relief administrative process that the director could authorize a closer setback. Guess what? Everybody was doing that. Everybody was requesting that reduction. So when somebody's asking for, relief from the same standard over and over and over, we have to look at that standard. So we're proposing just bringing that to a 5-foot setback across the board. Another big thing we wanted to do was kind of revamp our temporary sign standards. That whole section was pretty unintuitive to read. And we realized that it had the, I think, inadvertent effect of requiring a temporary sign permit for some, but not all temporary signs. We've never had a temporary sign permit process. We've never wanted to. We really want to treat temporary signs like we do fences. They don't require building permits, so we don't want to be permitting every single one, but there are still zoning standards that apply to them. And if somebody has a zoning complaint, we can still enforce those standards, but we didn't have a temporary sign permit in place. We didn't want to create one. So that's where a lot of that came from. I think that's something that staff had kind of been wanting to do since the UDC was adopted, was go back through those sign regulations. But we wanted to give it some time to apply those standards, see how they work with the type of signs that people are wanting to build in the county.
Thank you, sir. Can you
Absolutely.
talk about the addition of the definition to data center and the corresponding additions to where it's a use by right versus a permit requirement?
Yes, sir, absolutely. At this time, I don't believe that we have any specific projects in mind, but we do know that data centers are popping up all across the country, and we wanted to be able to get ahead of that. And make sure that we had planned for where they can go and what is and isn't a data center. So we are proposing that is a special use, so a use by review in light and heavy industrial. We talked with the folks over in Puebloplex. They asked that it be a use by right. Staff's 100% in agreement with that. We think that that's probably the best area in the county for a data center. And that also kind of fits with the existing Puebloplex zoning out there, which is pretty permissive and pretty development friendly. So we wanted to be able to have a zone district where if somebody wanted to come in and say, hey, we want to build a data center, we can say, look, we got this great resource, go talk to them. You don't have to go through all this process. It's a use by right over there. But in other areas of the county, we did think that that's definitely something that needs, oversight and board review.
So I would disagree with the assessment that a data center should be a use by right anywhere in this county. I think it is our responsibility with the unknowns of data centers and the necessity for community engagement when it comes to a data center. I believe that the Board of County Commissioners should have a say no matter where a data center should be sited. I agree with you that Puebloplex could be a great location for a data center, but I don't think a use by right for a facility of unknown magnitude, unknown environmental impact, to me, that should certainly be something that comes before this board and we're allowed to get substantial public input regardless of where a data center should be sited. How do you guys feel about that?
Are you in referencing Puebloplex specifically not having that use
No,
by right?
I just think, no matter the zone, Puebloplex, heavy industrial, light industrial, it should require an SUP at a minimum. Any data center that's sited in this county.
I think the media attention to what a data center is in other locations has created the need for the public to be informed. And I know the state continues to work on legislation about regulating data centers. So my personal belief is not every area of our county should have one. And if they do, it should be something the community knows about. So Puebloplex is a little bit different in the sense that that's the one area that wouldn't really impact the public as much. However, you do have concerns with water usage of a data center and the ability to scale it to a degree that isn't impactful. I really rely on our planning department to make these calls. You deal with the public on it a lot. So I guess that insight from you all about what what you feel is appropriate is a consideration, but I don't think there's any chance that we will have a data center come in without a discussion. I don't see that happening.
Has Pueblo-Plex or have they indicated if it was not a use by right, it would be prohibitive or it would be a huge
Joe, I can take
detraction?
this.
Yeah.
So essentially, when some kind of industrial type of use comes to mind, we typically like to confer with Pueblo-Plex, and that was based on their desires. Again, staff, I think actually started with a special use permit, and after conversing with Pueblo-Plex, and we changed it. But we can certainly, and what I would like to do, if there aren't any other changes that the commissioners are asking for, we'll bring it back to you after we make the change. Therefore, we're not making changes on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, and an SUP does not mean it's not gonna happen. You just go
Absolutely.
through the process. I mean, and so we can stress that to Russ and everybody else out at Pueblo-Plex.
Yeah, and I understand why Pueblo-Plex would want to be able to court a data center developer without any oversight from the county. I certainly understand that. You know, but would we be willing to open the door to a nuclear facility being sited without any kind of special use
No, I
permit?
think all of those are very hotly debated issues,
Exactly.
and that's just a reality.
And I think by requiring a special use permit, we as a board representing the community ensure that there is a moment to
Right.
demand public engagement. And that's all I'm saying is if we open the door to a use by right for a data center anywhere in the county, it just doesn't feel right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can bring that, we can amend that and bring that back.
But hold on, when you say amend it and bring it back, we're saying pause the text amendment entirely today, bring it back for next month. That would be my preference.
That is the preference.
Yep.
Typically, we prefer to bring it back to you in its form, adoption form versus
Some
making
adjustment on the
changes.
fly.
Yeah, and having you approve something that's not in its final
I
form.
totally agree.
Okay, we'll
thank
bring
you.
that back to you then, Commissioner.
Okay.
Were there any other changes or?
No, I like everything else. Mr. Peoria, do you mind talking about the changes to the animal feeding operation exemptions?
Yeah, by all means, absolutely. That was a change that came at the request of the commission, just to ensure that we are consistent. How we're treating the animal feeding operations or feedlots in the county is consistent with how the state treats them. The state carves out exemptions for certain operations that would otherwise fall under the definition of an AFO, an animal feeding operation, for private use, that is somebody's personal hobbyist operation or something that's not for profit, and for youth operations, 4-H, FFA, things of that nature. Right now, we do not in our code mimic those same exemptions, which means that some of that, one of those type of uses, if it met the definition of animal feeding operation, would require a special use permit, even if that's a not-for-profit operation. So we're just proposing a couple of amendments to ensure that we are consistent with state law, that if state law exempts these types of uses from additional permitting, that we are too. So we're just proposing carving out exemptions for special use permits for AFOs for personal use operations and youth group operations. And then we're also proposing a definition for what a personal use operation is.
Thank you, sir.
Yep,
And I appreciate all the
absolutely.
hard work on that. Glad to see that one go in. So yes, those are the ones I wanted to highlight. So I think we can have Mr. Hirsch summarize the rest of the items on the consent agenda, and then we can make a motion to move item number 2 to our subsequent meeting.
Yeah, I'll just ask, well, yeah, I'll let you get through it and then we'll remove item 2.
Yeah, we'll just continue it then to the July 9th
Yes, ma'am.
meeting.
Okay, Commissioners, the next 4 items are continuances. The first is special use permit case number SUP 26-2. This is before you for action to be continued to the August 13th, 2026 agenda. Zoning variance case number ZV 26-1 is before you for action to be continued to the July 9th, 2026 BOCC agenda. Consent item number 5, zoning variance case number ZV 26-2 is before you for action to be continued to the July 9th, 2026 BOCC agenda. And special use permit case number 26-3 is before you for action to be continued to the July 9th, 2026 BOCC agenda. The last consent item is are the bylaws and rules of procedures established and approved by the Pueblo County Board of Review. These bylaws and reviews, rules of procedure govern the Board of Review's organization, conduct of meetings, hearing of procedures, officer responsibilities, ethical standards, and appeal processes. Staff is recommending that the BOCC ratify the Board of Review bylaws and rules of procedures and are before you for discussion and or action. That concludes our consent agenda.
Thank you. If you guys don't have anything else, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda with removing item 2, and putting that on for our next land use meeting in, what's the date on the next land use
On
meeting?
July 9th.
9th
Yep.
to July 9th.
Thanks, sir. I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda, moving item number 2, continuing to the July 9th meeting.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. That'll bring us into our regular agenda.
Okay, we have 2 regular agenda items today. The first is SUP 26-4, which is being brought by William and Norma Adamson, requesting approval for an animal feeding operation consisting of 16 feeding pens for the feeding of up to 5,000 sheep in an A1 large agriculture zone district. The subject property is located at 1630 Courtner Road off South Road between 30 and 32nd lanes and legally described as Lot 2, Rock Hills Estate, Pueblo County, Colorado. So we will begin this hearing with staff comments, if they have any, followed by a presentation by the applicants, and then testimony by those in favor of this item. After those in favor have testified, the board will hear testimony by anyone in opposition. If there is opposition, the applicants will then have an opportunity to provide rebuttal testimony, which is limited only to those issues raised by the opposition. Individual testimony is limited to 3 minutes per person. Finally, there will be deliberation by the BOCC. The commissioners may choose to keep the hearing open and continue it to a date, time, and place certain to receive further testimony and evidence. The board may choose to close the hearing, take it under deliberation, and continue the hearing to a date, time, and place certain to render a decision, or the board may close the hearing, deliberate, and render a decision today. For the purposes of this hearing, the BOCC is sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity, and as such, the board is prohibited from obtaining evidence from either side outside of the public hearing. The board must apply the standards and criteria in the Pueblo County Code to facts presented at this hearing in order to arrive at a decision. Please limit testimony only to information relevant to the permit request before the board. At this time, I will request that the hearing be opened and that the staff report and any additional documents provided by staff to the board be made part of the record of proceedings.
I did
Thank
just
you.
want to note that we did receive 2 letters of opposition between the time of the planning commission and today. Joe went and printed them. They're in front
That's
of
what you
you.
handed us.
I'm going to provide these to our county attorney as well. And just wanted to make a note of that.
Thank you for that. Okay, well then we will open the hearing and accept the staff report and staff documents into the record of proceeding. And would staff like to make any comments before we invite the applicant to give their presentation?
Thank you. This came to our attention as a result of a complaint. It was determined that this was considered an animal feeding operation based on our code definition. There's approximately 5,000 sheep on the premises. It was an item where the landowners were not required by the state to register as an AFO, and then not realizing that there were requirements with the county. It was overlooked until it was brought to our attention. And since that time, the property owners have come before us and applied for this special use permit to ensure that they're in compliance. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, that's the way to do it, so appreciate that. Okay, then we would now, I will now ask the applicant to come up and give their presentation if they so choose. They do not.
The applicant doesn't have anything they wish to add.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone else in favor of this application that would like to come up and speak? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone in opposition who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, guess everybody's here for the next one. All right. Do we want to have a conversation now or, I mean, we can close the hearing? I guess we can close the hearing since we don't have any public input on it either way. And then we can have discussion amongst ourselves and then, vote to approve or deny the SUP in front of us.
Mr.
Commissioner-
Chair, we do have two letters that are in opposition to it. They're not here present in the chamber, but we did receive comment,
Right.
public comment opposed to the applicant that are neighbors to the property. So that, my concern is this operation in growing has created some dust issues for neighbors and those kind of things. Is there anything in the permit that will allow some relief for the people that live near or around this property from those dust concerns?
So our department doesn't regulate dust. That would be something that the state regulates.
Okay.
I am not sure with this, Joe, or do you know what the requirements are from the state?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Director Howard. We did refer this special use permit out to CDPHE, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, both their division that specifically regulates feedlots as well as the air pollution and air quality control division. I believe that's what it's called. Neither agency had any comments. I got the impression that this AFO is small enough that the state doesn't necessarily think it's that they're going to have any sort of oversight to it on. So that's, we did our diligence in terms of referring it to the state, but it doesn't seem like the state had any comments.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, before we close the hearing, would it be possible to ask a couple questions of the applicant? Mr. Adamson, do you mind if we ask you a couple questions, folks?
You'll have to-
If you don't mind coming up to the microphone.
for the record.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for being here today. I wanted to ask you, how long has this operation existed on this property?
30 years approximately.
And can you kind of talk about when you started the operation, what was the size? How many head did you have compared to today?
We have probably around 3,000,
When you started
yes.
and today it's closer to 5,000?
That's what we usually feed, around 5,000. We don't get them till the fall. They come in October and they're all gone by March.
Okay.
And
Do
we
you have
a
any,
few left over in the summer, some breeding stock?
thank you, sir. Do you have any plans to expand this operation?
No,
Okay.
I'm 90 years old. I don't think so.
Well, you're doing a pretty good job, sir. I don't know if I could manage 5,000 head of sheep. Well, I know I couldn't. Okay, I think that's all I needed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I mean, with, to your point from the state, I think we've all probably spoken with state representatives on this among other AFOs. And it's a pretty high bar to meet their threshold as far as, I mean, I don't think they even start looking at sheep until it's about 10,000, right?
Mr. Peoria, can I ask you one more question? When you said the state had no comment, did that mean they didn't respond or they said, we have no findings, we're good?
I did hear back from both agencies. I didn't receive a formal comment letter back from the specific department that handles feedlots, but she did give me a call and said, like you said, Commissioner Swearingen, it's below our threshold. We did receive a formal comment letter from the Air Control Division that just said we have no comments, but we did hear back from both agencies confirming that they didn't wish to make any.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have nothing else, sir.
Okay. You good, Paula?
Yeah.
Okay. We will now close the hearing. And do we have any, you guys are both good? No additional conversation?
Yes.
Nothing else for me.
Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to approve SUP 26-4 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you for being here, folks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, Commissioners, our next item is 1041 permit SLI 25-1 brought by Buffalo Burr Solar LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of NextEra Energy Resources LLC, requesting approval of a permit pursuant to Chapter 17.07 of the Pueblo County Unified Development Code for the site selection and construction of a major facility of a public utility for the Buffalo Burst Solar and Storage Project. The proposed project consists of a utility-scale solar photovoltaic generating facility with a capacity of up to 540 megawatts and a co-located battery energy storage system with a capacity of up to 1,200 megawatts. The facility would occupy approximately 2,548 acres of privately owned agricultural land located approximately 23 miles east-northeast of the city of Pueblo and approximately 10 miles north of Boone. We will begin the hearing with staff comments, should staff have any, followed by presentation by the applicants, and then testimony by those in favor of this item. After those in favor have testified, the board will then hear testimony by anyone in opposition. If there is opposition, the applicant will have an opportunity to provide rebuttal testimony limited only to those issues raised by the opposition. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes per person. There will be deliberation by the BOCC. The board may choose to keep the hearing open and continue it to a date, time, and place certain to receive further testimony and evidence. The board may choose to close the hearing, take it under deliberation, and continue the hearing to a date, time, and place certain to render a decision, or the board may close the hearing, deliberate, and render a decision today. For the purposes of this hearing, the BOCC is sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity and as such is prohibited from obtaining evidence from either side outside of this public hearing. The board must apply the standards and criteria in the Pueblo County Code to facts presented at this hearing to arrive at a decision. Please limit testimony only to information relevant to the permit request before the board. At this time, I will request the hearing to be open, that the staff report and any additional documents provided by staff to the board be made a part of the record, and that we proceed with this hearing.
Thank you for all of that, Brendan. We will open the hearing and accept the staff report and staff documents into the record of proceeding. And would staff like to make any additional comments before we invite the applicant to give their presentation?
Thank you. I don't have any comments.
Okay. I'd now ask the applicant to come up and give their presentation, please, and state your name for the record.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Evan Raimondo. I'm from NextEra Energy Resources, here to speak on behalf of the Buffalo Burr Energy Center. I'm from Durango, Colorado. I've brought with me a number of colleagues from NextEra Energy, and it's to be able to hopefully answer any questions you might have. They have a wide range of expertise here. I don't know if, are we able to pull up the slide presentation live, or do you
Yeah,
do you have it there? Okay,
We'll get on it right now.
thank you. I'll just cover a little bit about our company, provide a high-level overview of our project, share some of the community engagement we've done to date, some economic projections of the project, and how and demonstrate how the project meets compliance with the county code. If you want to skip to the third slide there. Thank you. NextEra Energy Resources is one of the largest developer of infrastructure in the county, and we develop all forms of energy across renewables, battery energy storage, natural gas, and nuclear. We're an American-owned and operated company with 35 years of infrastructure development experience, and this slide really isn't to toot our horns, but just to demonstrate that we have the expertise and experience to build safe and reliable projects. Next slide, please. We've been working in Colorado since 2007. We have 20 operating projects in the state, 2 in the county here, and a number of other projects that we're permitting and constructing throughout the state. Buffalo Burr Energy Center is proposed as 540 megawatts of solar and up to 540 megawatts of BESS in front of you here. The project sited on 2,750 acres of land. It's adjacent to the new Piesco or Excel sandstone substation. We're targeting currently commercial operations by the end of 2029. And so if everything goes to plan, that would have us starting construction in late 2027. There we go. So I won't belabor this slide. I think you all know how solar energy works, but I'll just emphasize here that we think these projects bring a lot of benefits to our community, to the communities that they're built in. And I'll say roughly the same thing about battery energy storage, and that they do bring some direct benefits to the county in terms of enhancing grid reliability and supporting generation on the grid that's already there. I think we might have missed our project overview slide, back a couple slides. One more. Huh. I'm out of order. Okay, sorry. We can keep going. You can go back. Yeah, please. Sorry about that. Couple more. There we go. This slide is just intended to show that we completed a wide range of studies, environmental and cultural studies, and the big takeaway is that we're not anticipating any significant environmental impacts. We coordinated extensively with CPW in the design of the project to minimize any potential impacts, including incorporating CPW approved wildlife migration corridors. So that's to accommodate any movement of animals like pronghorn and mule deer passing through the project area. So there's, if we could flip to the next one, maybe that's, I don't know what happened to the map in this one. So we designed 3 CPW corridors, wildlife corridors, 200 meters wide, to make sure that those animals can pass through. Emphasizing our community engagement to date. So you may or may not know that we purchased this project from another renewable developer. We closed on it last year, and they had started some community engagement, performed a couple open houses. We conducted a second one this spring to make sure that landowners knew that we were the new developers who they can contact if they had questions and concerns, and share some project updates. We also initiated coordination with the Edison Fire Department, and we'll continue to work with first responders to make sure they have the training and resources to respond to anything out here. And then my favorite part of the job is that we get to engage with and support some great local initiatives. So these are a few that we've supported so far this year, and we look forward to supporting other great initiatives through the years to come. And we've also understand that economic opportunity for the community and for you all is a high priority. And so we have been engaging with local workforce development groups, and had a couple conversations with LIUNA today, and we'll continue our engagement with them moving forward as well. This slide shows some of our projected economic benefits of Buffalo Burr at the proposed full build out size, 540 megawatts of solar and equivalent BESS. We're projecting 500 temporary construction jobs at peak construction. That's 8 to 11 full-time operations jobs. And at that full project size, we estimate about $88 million in new property tax revenue to the county over the life of the project. Stepping back a little bit, I just wanted to look at NextEra's bigger investment in Pueblo County. So we have 8 projects cited in the county now. 2 are operational, 3 will be in construction in the next year. And then we have 2 others besides this one that are permitted already, and we're just seeking commercial opportunity to move those forward further. So if we look at the potential impact of the full build out of that portfolio, we're looking at 40 to 50 new full-time permanent positions in the operations of these projects. That's almost 6,000 construction jobs, and up to $9.4 million in annual tax revenue to the county. That's $2.5 million per year to the school district, and 2.2 to the general fund. And then let me pull up my slide here. I apologize now. I'm going to read through this one line by line because our attorney said it was important. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to here. This slide is to share that the project meets the applicable review criteria listed in Section 1707 of the Unified Development Code. Wanted to emphasize the staff have reviewed our application and determined that the review criteria were satisfied and recommended approval. For efficiency, we've grouped the long list of review criteria into 5 buckets here, and I'll touch on each briefly. First, the application materials demonstrate that the project is consistent with applicable plans such as county and regional plans, plans relating to water quality and stormwater and sanitation. Regarding environmental impacts, this project was designed and planned to avoid and minimize environmental impacts and is not anticipated to have significant impacts on the environment or natural resources. Potential impacts to other types of interests such as economic, social, recreational, or demands on government services are also not anticipated here, due in large part to the remote location of the project. To the extent such impacts are anticipated, they will be mitigated in accordance to the plans. We as the project developer have or will obtain the necessary property rights, permits, and approvals necessary for the project prior to construction. And the project is not anticipated to negatively impact property rights. Finally, the application materials demonstrate that the project is feasible and well-planned. We as the developer are experienced and positioned to follow through on completing the project, and we have the adequate resources for construction and efficient operation of the project. That concludes my presentation, and happy to field any questions you might have.
Thank you, sir. I do have a couple questions that relate to the application. One is the road use agreement requirement with the county, that would need to be finalized before you can begin that work. Where are you guys at with the road use agreement with the county?
We have not started the road use
Okay.
agreement, but yes, it would be a requirement prior to construction.
The second thing would be the decommissioning and the reclamation plan. From the documents I'm reading, it sounds like that's not been completed either. That's an important piece of getting the project going, is that decommissioning plan, and restoring everything back to the way you found it is an important part of the UDC code here at the county. So those are the two things staff recommendation I look at and look through just to make sure those are in place. Sounds like a great project for our community. And as far as labor goes, it sounds like you've been meeting with our union laborers and negotiating some of the work that needs to be done to include our local workforce. That's much appreciated. We always want them to have a seat at the table. So those are just a few of the things I noticed in your application that we would want to make sure are finalized before you move forward on that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, just to speak to the decommissioning plan, we did submit a plan. It was found late last minute that we needed to incorporate some additional language that addresses how we post bond essentially for it. And we're already working on that, and
Okay.
we'll have that
Thank you.
submitted, yeah.
Appreciate that.
Sir, I had a question about the traffic study. Specifically, there's a letter from Miss Teresa Guagliardo from CDOT that says the project impact of the intersection of Highway 96 and Boone Road is greater than 5%. Therefore, this intersection is required to be included in the traffic study. So she asked that the traffic impact study include that analysis and resubmit for review. Has that happened?
I might call up one of our consultants to support me here, but I believe we requested to postpone the traffic study to a little later in the process to make sure that right now there's elevated traffic from the Piesco that's above baseline, and our project construction is not going to overlap with the build out of that new substation. So we requested to delay.
That is correct. Any on that?
But it's something we would still complete and incorporate into our road use agreement and plans before start of construction.
Okay. Well, so I appreciate that, but the materials that we have show basically an incomplete traffic study. And it's also, and this is more of a comment for Director Howard, not a condition of approval is to get that updated traffic study sign off from CDOT. So I don't feel comfortable because, and I want to be clear, this is nothing personal, but we hear a lot about when these solar developments go in, it affects traffic patterns. Right now, we have some temporary traffic signals on US Highway 50 business out in the county. So these projects do bring an influx of traffic. And if CDOT is telling us that an updated traffic study is necessary, I don't feel comfortable today moving forward until we at least hear that CDOT is okay with a direction. Because to me, it's just kind of completely unaddressed, both on the application side, but also on our side as a condition for approval.
Commissioner, typically we don't condition any of our conditions of approval for state agencies.
Okay.
We don't have authority over state regulations and requirements. We include them as a participating agency partner because they have their own enforcement mechanisms.
Okay.
We rely on them to enforce their own regulations.
Understood and totally agree. But would you also agree that CDOT up to this point says this is an incomplete traffic impact study on behalf of the applicant? We need to include this major intersection in the traffic study and then resubmit.
I would prefer that our Public Works Department, which is sitting in the audience, address that because there are
Sure,
traffic SMEs.
absolutely.
We have brought up that issue before, that intersection there due to the railroad. There might be some issues with traffic backing up onto the highway. So yes, you could probably like somehow incorporate that into maybe part of our access requirements and that we receive that traffic study.
So it, in essence, would be a condition of approval, just through the mechanism of Public Works,
Yes.
more so.
I can work with Dominga on
Mhm.
on a condition that would satisfy.
So is that not a part of the road use agreement to have a study done?
We require different information. We mostly look at, how they're going to damage the road. So we're looking at the size of trucks, the weight of the truck, the load, that's what we look at.
Specific to county-owned roads.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, commissioners, and just to address it again, we're kind of in a tough spot because with all the PSCO and Excel traffic going up Boone Road right now, when we talk to CDOT and we talk to the consultants, it's the surveys and the numbers that we would get would be inflated right now because of all that construction traffic that they have out there. So that's why if it's possible to get it incorporated as one of the conditions, that'd be great. And then that buys us a little time so that once the PSCO, I believe they'll be done with construction late 2027, so we can redo that traffic study, get a valid read from the traffic, the normal traffic that's out there, and then go forth and do whatever it is that the county or CDOT requires us to do. And then if I can, Commissioner, on the road use agreement, we were over at Public Works yesterday working for the road use agreement on 3 other projects that we have as well. Understand the county just reworked some of the language that you have in the road use agreement. So it should be very easy at this point. We've agreed with the county on all the language. We actually signed one earlier this morning for the Highland project. And so for this project, it would be very easy with regard to just changing the names on there, getting a new estimate from the county, and then we'd be able to sign the road use agreement, the new road use agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I agree with Mark that there's currently a lot of traffic out there that's not a part of their project. So.
I guess I'm not certainly claiming to be an expert in traffic impact studies, but if there's an elevated amount of traffic out there, but CDOT is saying that the project impact to the intersection of Highway 96 and Boone Road is greater than 5% of intersection capacity, what does that have to do with a lot of traffic running out there right now? To me, that's an analysis of the current condition of the intersection and this specific project's impact on said intersection.
Correct. So that traffic impact study needs to be updated.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
And I just, sorry, gentlemen, I just don't see how it relates. I understand there is a lot of traffic out there, but I don't think CDOT's analysis takes into account other projects. It's saying this specific project will have greater than 5% impact. Am I missing something?
So I think the problem is that when we do traffic analysis, it's based off of a base load of traffic. And if we went out there and did counts right now, we wouldn't have an accurate base load because there's so much construction traffic. The original counts we did, I think were like 3 years ago, and that's what was in the original analysis. That's what they're basing it off of, which we would be happy to provide our recommendations based off that. But they need something that's happened within the last calendar year. So we can't get those numbers right now to give them an accurate recommendation on what updates to do as part of this project. So
I
that's
think-
why we suggested that we would like to hold off and do this once the Excel project is done.
I think it's important to note the construction phases or timing of such, because I think Excel will be done with their project by the time these guys get ready to construct their project.
I agree, and I don't think it would be a fair assessment to do it now, knowing there's all that traffic. You're being judged by what's going on with other projects versus what your project will actually do. So I understand the timing of it, and I would be okay once that traffic study can be completed, once that construction traffic is done. If we're assured that you will do one and it will be a fair analysis, I'm fine moving forward, but I don't want you judged by other traffic. And I think that's the challenge is CDOT's looking at it in one way and we have to look at it in terms of what your project will actually be hitting once those other projects are over with.
Well, and it's not just a promise. I mean, it can be a condition of approval.
We
Right.
can reword that condition of approval and bring it back to you, commissioners, so that it incorporates that updated traffic impact study.
I also wanted to point out, because it sounds like one of the concerns is that we'll actually go through with it. We have to get a temporary access permit from CDOT because of the traffic impact of construction. So whether or not it's in this condition, we have to do it with CDOT.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I could be talked into making that a condition of approval. I don't want to do it on the fly today because I think it would require some very specific language from our subject matter experts. So I want to be clear, gentlemen, this is a very well put together application. I think this is a great project for Pueblo County. I just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, getting all the boxes checked, making sure that we don't set a precedent for conditionally approving big projects like this with too many outstanding questions. So that's 100% where I'm coming from on this. But I like this project. I know that you folks are extremely professional, and I think we can move it forward probably as quickly as next month. Is that, you think you could help with
Yeah.
that language?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to mention, I do genuinely appreciate the fact that you folks have been talking to local labor unions. We received a letter of support from LIUNA, the laborers union, and they indicated that good faith conversations have been occurring. We appreciate that. I, commissioners, still don't believe we go far enough in our conditions for reporting requirements as far as what do we do should these local jobs or union jobs fall below a certain threshold. All we say is that the applicant must report them. But if we receive numbers that say 2% of employees out there are Pueblo County residents, there's nothing to do. All they have to do is report. There's no requirements around what we want those jobs to look like.
So Commissioner, one of the things that Ms. Day has brought up when we were putting together the language in the UDC and such was that we can't, and I think it might be something that Brendan maybe needs to speak on, or we need to review with the county attorney's office.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Marcy ad nauseum about that, and where our thresholds are for quote unquote enforcement, or instead of just reporting, like, actual put some teeth in it. And I mean, obviously we all know that we struggle with that on code enforcement across the board. But I mean, I know these are separate issues, but it's just another frustration of not having the authority or the ability to kind of impact that. So I don't know where Marcy is still on it. But I've raised the same point with her for quite some time.
So Director, are you suggesting that even if we wanted to say 50% of jobs must go to Pueblo County residents, that might not be legally allowed?
That's my understanding, but there's a legal expert in the room. I would defer to him.
Yeah, Commissioner, that's my understanding as well. We can't have it outright. It's my understanding we can have an outright number requirement for local labor to do these construction projects. If you would like a memo on this, I mean, we could certainly give you, a full briefing, but just the cursory legal review I've done, that is my understanding, yes.
Okay.
This is pretty much, in my opinion, the max we can require for labor.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think a memo would be great, just so that this board's all on the same page about what we can do if and when these projects continue to come across our desk. Out of curiosity, if we as a board wanted to require the developer to construct this project under a project labor agreement, is that an option under our 1041 powers?
I would need to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm in favor of that. I'm just kind of wondering where do our 1041 powers extend to?
And Marcy has told me in the past that, I mean, a lot of that is state driven, because I know that labor is asked, you brought up examples of different states, I think Washington State and some others where, those agreements are a little bit different. But again, from what I understand, what Marcy has relayed is it's state prohibitive, specific to Colorado. But yeah, I agree with Miles. Brendan, if we can get a memo on
Yes, sir.
on that, I think that would be massively helpful.
Go ahead, sir.
If I might, Greg Tan, outside counsel for NextEra. I just want to chime in on the labor issue because we have looked into this a bit, and I just want to say we do agree with the comments here as far as the board's ability to dictate a certain percentage or a certain number of union labor. We do not believe that is an appropriate or legal condition, both under labor law and land use law. So I don't want to get too ahead of your analysis. I know you mentioned you'll do a memo. I just want to chime in with our concurrence with what you've said so far on that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If I might also step back to the previous issue on the traffic study and just suggest that we might consider taking a recess and try to hammer out that condition so that we can move this forward today. If you'd be agreeable to that, we'd certainly, work with you to try to get that done today.
I think that we fall back to staff and their comfort level on that. I mean, I'm not in opposition to trying to figure things out quickly, if anybody knows me, but again, I would defer to our staff, both in Public Works and Planning and Development, on their comfort level on doing that.
Can I ask Mr. Hirsch, if we wanted to not move this case to the next land use meeting, but to a regular BOCC meeting, is that an option?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so that could.
Right, we could do it
instead of
as
waiting
early as
a
net
whole other
weeks.
month, we
Yeah.
could get it done in the next couple of weeks. I'm not a big fan of trying to solution this during a recess. I think it's a big enough deal in my mind that we need to have a conversation with staff. It also gives us a little bit of a breather to make the legal determination on the labor requirements. And then also the decommissioning issue that Commissioner McFeeters brought up. I also share that concern, and I would just like to have a conversation with staff about, do we see that as a major issue? I look back at the other 1041s that we approved just last month. Neither of them included decommissioning, a full decommissioning report as a condition. They were both in place at the time of approval. So I like that precedent better than making the full decommissioning report a condition of approval.
So one of the things that's interesting, and I'm not 100% sure if the two that were here last month were approved under the former code or the newer code. And what the nuance is there, that the previous code allowed for a decommissioning bond 15 years prior to, or 15 years after the inception of or energy generation. And currently, our requirements are that the decommissioning bond be provided prior to commercial operation. So that could be why that language wasn't necessarily in, and maybe I'm not understanding you right. Are you just referring to the fact that there was no requirement about an updated decommissioning plan?
No,
prior
what I'm
to-
saying is in the prior 1041s, the matter of decommissioning as a whole was addressed by staff and said the decommissioning report has been received, it's approved, it's good to go. Whereas in this case, we're saying the decommissioning report can come later as a condition of approval for the SUP.
Right. So Nextera did provide the plan with all the dollar amounts. The issue was the language regarding when the bond was to be in place. And I think that would probably be something that Nextera could have updates for quickly. And so I would ask that we could talk about that as well, so that we could have that in place for you then when we bring this back. I would say the next land use meeting would be a good time to bring it back to resolve this and both the traffic study issue, rather than trying to get it on an agenda earlier.
Okay. So in essence, a month.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Is that timeline work for you, Dominga?
Yes, that works for me because I need to discuss this with our traffic engineer to come up with a proper condition of approval.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't like to, kick the can down the road, but I think that these are some major issues. It's quite frankly, one of the biggest, if not the biggest issue that we hear from the general public on solar is traffic and road impacts and everything else like that. So, I don't think we would be doing our due diligence to not address that prior to saying yes. And again, I think that this can be, I agree with Miles. I think this can be a very good project for this community. But we certainly have to do our due diligence in that respect. So hate to postpone it, but I think we've still got a couple things that we've got to iron out. So.
So do we need to continue with the mechanics of the hearing, or can we move to continue this on agenda right now?
Yeah. Open and then continue to the July 9th hearing.
Okay.
So I'll ask for a motion to keep the hearing open and continue it to our July 9th land use meeting with all of the topics that we've discussed being addressed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. So we'll see you guys in a month and get it all hammered out.
Yeah, and just to make sure I understand, so the outcome, the product between now and then is us working with the staff to create those conditions of approval for both the traffic study, and we'll address the decommissioning plan language. I think we've already uploaded the updated language for the decommissioning plan to the portal in the last couple days, but we'll confirm that as well. So is that the major product before then?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. That'll bring us into commissioner comments.
I'll go first, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind. I'm probably going to be saying this a couple times over the next month, but ballots are out. Thank you to Clerk Rivera and her staff for everything they do to run safe, secure elections. Your ballots have arrived in the mail, and I just want to encourage you, it doesn't as much matter who you vote for, it matters that you vote. That's the way to make sure you are engaged in our community and to make sure that the people that you believe in are representing you. And so that vote is your voice, and they're due June 30th. Please vote. It's very important. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I would just agree with that. Beyond that, I don't think I have anything. Enjoy the weather and enjoy all the amenities that we have here in Pueblo. I've driven by and seen people at the Waterworks Park down on the river and all that good stuff. So, a lot of good stuff going on.
Thank you. Yesterday, I spent some time meeting with some folks in real estate and had some discussions about the Medal of Honor Boulevard and the impacts that it's had and how much people love that ability to connect Pueblo West to the city, and just the continued desire to see development in our community in terms of economic jobs and growth. And I continue to hear that from our constituents. So we as a board will continue to work on projects that bring growth, development, jobs, and help us as a community continue to thrive. I think this board is still committed to that. We are committed to being leaders in our community for that. And I think we want to work diligently on providing those carefully studied, but also impactful projects that bring those jobs and resources to our community. So we continue to work on that, whether we're here in the chamber or we're out in the community. We're listening, we hear you, and thank you for your input and your time on many subjects. And in the meantime, enjoy summer as it begins. I think we've already seen a lot of summer activities coming up and the heat as well. So I've been enjoying that, but I just wanted to say thank you to all those that get in touch with me about various concerns. We're listening, so thank you.
Appreciate that. Our next meeting will be June 16th. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned.